He went and took pictures of his car and sent it to his whole family. I mean, the car was full of blood. You can see, like, the wood in it and all that. Like, he sent it to all of us. So, like, that's kind of traumatized me. And then after that, I had to go clean out his car by myself.
Why not take someone with you?
They wouldn't let me. They would only let one person back there. I had my sister with me, and they told me that only one person can go back there.
That's tough.
Yeah.
Hello, everybody. This is the Human Experience Podcast, where we share the human truth about life in general. We have today here my friend Carissa. This is the first time I've met her, just a while ago, about 3 minutes ago. So I'm happy to meet you, and thank you for coming and telling your human truth.
Thank you for having me.
It's absolutely amazing to me, all the people that we run across through the REACH program, their stories, but it's even more amazing of how many people that I've had feedback already that it's helped or walked through certain situations, and I just got some of that yesterday in men's group. So it is real, like the snowball of helping others is actually happening, and this is just one of those platforms we do it on. So Without you, it couldn't happen. So here we are, and thank you so much. I've had more than one person tell me your powerful story, but I start with this first because I always like to create positivity, and it is, who is Carissa now, today, and what does she strive for in life, like as far as a purpose or a passion? It could be anything.
My purpose really is to be a good mom and be stable, and I guess just live, like, be content.
Nice, yeah. I think it's always a big thing that I know I've learned from Stacy and men's group is, like, we're not chasing happiness. Mm-hmm. We're chasing balance and contentness,
yes.
right?
Right.
And it's a lot harder to reach that if we don't have people in place to help us along the way. So I want to know a little bit about you first. How did you get introduced to the REACH program, whether it was forcefully done or whether you walked in the doors yourself, but how were you introduced to the REACH program?
It was actually forcefully done. I got CPS involved, and that's how I ended up with Stacy. And I was in the drug court, and I actually graduated from the drug court. Well, I was supposed to graduate. It's a long story, but
all stories are long with drug court, by the way.
Yes, it's a long story, but even after my case got closed, I still kept coming back, and I still keep coming back.
And how many years or months?
It's been about 3 years since I've been with her.
So 3 years in drug court was how many of those years?
12 months.
12 months. So 1 year you were in court that you were made to have to go to REACH program or something similar, correct? So what made you keep on coming back 2 years later?
Because that's my family. Like, that's the only place that I can go and open up and talk and feel comfortable. It's my family I've never had.
And what do you think that you can take away the most as you think of today of how to be a good mom and what you've been through that the REACH program has provided you?
That's kind of a hard question. I mean, everything really. Like, she's taught me how to be a mom. She's taught me how to, CPS got involved. So it's, once you get your kids taken away, it's easy to parent, like, out of guilt. She's taught me how to, once I get my kids back, how to actually parent after losing them for so long. She's taught me gratitude. I mean, she's introduced me to some of my best friends in that class.
That's awesome. How long did you go without your kids?
2 years.
2 years. And they are how old now?
5 and 7.
5 and 7. Boy or girl?
2 boys.
2 boys.
Yep.
Oh, you're going to get payback like me. So
I think I already am.
So it's amazing to me that you dug out of what you had to dig out of, and I don't know your whole story. But I do know this, that every time CPS gets involved, it can be a blessing and a curse, and both put together.
I'm blessed that they got involved.
Tell me about that.
I would honestly be dead if they wouldn't have. Like, I'm so glad they interfered because, I ended up in the REACH program, and it's taught me so much about myself. Like, I was parenting all wrong to begin with. Like, it's taught me how to be a better mom. It's taught me how to be a better person. I'm so glad CPS interfered when they did.
What were you doing that was parenting wrong, if you don't mind?
Well, I mean, I was on drugs a lot, and there was times my kids like would come up to me and be like, "Mommy, let's go play, da da," and I'd be like, "In a minute, in a minute." Like, I was just too busy getting high, like.
Yes.
And even when I wasn't getting high, I just wasn't doing it right.
Right. Yeah. And what was that process like getting them back? I mean, was it something that you were just bound and determined? You're like, look, I put the drugs away, and now I got to catch this on, a weekly basis. And then there's a waiting period. I'm sure there's all kinds of this. It's probably in the middle of COVID.
Yeah, everything like kind of stopped during COVID. It was like just on pause, so there was nothing I can do really. Except just wait it out.
And what did you lean on then? I mean, how did obviously the REACH program, but was there a certain amount of members, or was it a certain group?
Yeah,
group?
I stay connected. The women's group, like some of my best friends are in there, so
yeah,
I just have to stay connected. Or I mean, it's easy to go back out, but with everybody there, it's just they keep me balanced.
It is, and I think one of the biggest things that I spoke on yesterday at the men's when it was my turn to check in is basically like. It's easy to sit in a room and say something about yourself and how you need help, but when you're actually in a situation and reaching out, what kind of tool do you use when you know that you have a certain feeling or a certain emotion going on that you can't control, that you need to reach out and ask? I mean, is it as simply the dial, or is it playing the tape through your head?
No, I instantly text Stacy every time, instantly.
Mm-hmm.
And she always knows what to say.
Yeah, right. Did you ever take any of her advice on journaling?
Yes.
You did?
Yes.
Tell me about that, because, look, I'm not a writer, and obviously I despise it. Mm-hmm. Obviously I'm a talker. Mm-hmm. So tell me why were you attracted to the journaling when she challenged you to do it? And were you always a writer, or what does that look like?
No. It's actually a funny story, because whenever I was in drug court, I got sanctioned for something.
For what? I love hearing some sanctions.
I think it was like a failed drug test or something. I really don't even remember. But she sanctioned me, and one of my sanctions was to write like 30 sentences. Actually, altogether, it was like 60 sentences. But I had to write sentences, like 27 sentences that I was, things I was grateful for, that I forgave myself for, and a commitment to myself. And at first I was like, this is so retarded. And then like after I did it, like it helped me so much, and I just realized how much writing helps me.
It gets your thoughts swimming around out on paper. Mm-hmm. Do you still do that today?
Yes.
Really?
Every night.
Every night you journal?
Every night.
Unbelievable. And I'm sure it helped you through the process of what we're going to talk about, the grieving of your brother. Again, I like to start out on positivity. Tell me something about Trent and some of the things that you admired so much, whether it's from the childhood or just some things about Trent that just, when you think of, it's him. It
was his personality. Like, if he walked into this room, like, he can make anybody laugh. He just... Being around him, I don't know, he could light up a room, and there was never a dull moment around him. And I mean, if he seen someone upset, he would make sure and go out of his way to make sure that, they were okay. And it was just his personality and who he was.
Is he older or younger than you?
He's younger. He was 21.
He was 21, and did y'all grow up in the same household? Mm-hmm. And what did that childhood look like?
It was awesome.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Explain awesome.
Out of 5 of us, he was the only boy, so
yeah,
we all
I
had
can
fun
relate.
Yeah, we all had fun with him. I mean,
was he the baby?
Yes. Well, actually, I have a little sister that's just now turned 18, but like when we were growing up, he was the baby, So all of us girls were so overprotective of him, and we thought he was going to end up gay because we would like dress him up as girls and do makeup and all kinds of stuff.
I got 2 older sisters and 2 younger stepsisters. They all thought the same thing with me. I mean, was Trent the one doing electric slide with you guys? Oh my gosh, it's me.
Yes.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. He was just something else. Like, he would always dance. He was always making people laugh. He was a character. Yeah,
I'll never forget they put makeup on me to dress up as New Kids on the Block. We have a picture still, so I can relate wholeheartedly to his childhood. Well, that's awesome. So tell me a little bit about when the timeline of when you got in with Reach and when Trent started having some trouble. Was he forced in to drug court as well over some law or what?
He was forced by probation and parole. He had
And he
just
was already seeing you go through it,
yeah,
correct?
yeah. So
Okay.
I mean, I think it kind of made it easier on him knowing that like he had me. But yeah, he had just served 9 months in jail, and once he got out, he was on probation, so he was required to do ILP and all that. But
And could you see the growth in him?
absolutely.
So how long did you were like, wow, he's really going to do this?
Mm-hmm.
Is that his first stint in jail?
I mean, he's done like like when he was younger, like under 18, he went to like group homes and stuff like that. And I mean, he's always like back and forth with it, I
Gotcha.
don't know, like, he'd be doing good and then, he got overwhelmed really easy, you know what I mean? And just like this last time, like he took on too much at once. He was working, he had a baby on the way, like he just took it all on at once. He got overwhelmed, and I think that's how he like always ended up going back out there because he tried to do it all at once,
Right. Yeah, which we tend to do, not only in recovery within everything. We want it now, and we're going to do it all because you can't tell me I can't do it.
Right.
Yeah. So I definitely can relate to that as well. So the timeline is you're already past IOP at this point. You're in women's group, and you're turning your life around. You're starting to get visitation with your kids again. And then he's in IOP. And I remember sitting across from him and Morgan, and I knew they had a young baby. And so tell me the last couple months leading up to that, what you had thought was going on and what actually was going on, and just the story that you can give me. So this is the part where I open it up. You were like, "You're gonna lead me through." Well, I can't lead you through this one because I don't know the details.
He was actually doing really good. He had that baby on the way. Like that's the only thing that he's ever wanted was a baby of his own. I mean, he loved his nieces and nephews, but he's always wanted a baby. And once he realized he had a baby on the way, he got a job instantly. Within a couple weeks, he had his own apartment. He had just got his first car. I mean, like I said, he was, taking it all at once, doing it all at once. But he was determined to be, like, the best dad that he could be. And he was doing really good. And, I mean, I don't know what happened, really. It was just, his friend. What I was told was his friend came and got him from work and was like, let's leave work and let's go drink at a friend's house. And he had just got that car, and he knew that his tires were bad on his car anyway, so he shouldn't have been driving it. So they went to a friend's house, and, they were drinking, and I don't know what made him get in that car, knowing his tires were already bad and he shouldn't have been driving.
I got a question. I'll stop you there, and I'll come back to that. But it's not the tires, right? I kind of want to go back to, like, what makes him not reach out? I mean, you've been in that mindset. So he's in IOP. He's still learning. IOP, I tell guys all the time, like, I'll show up with them for the first hour, introduce them, make them feel comfortable, and then I leave. And I'm like, I didn't miss after that.
Yeah.
I mean, you couldn't miss. Not only is drug court saying that you can't miss, I just couldn't miss.
Yeah.
For some reason, I was so bound and determined. Where did the disconnection come? Could you see it coming?
Not at all.
Nobody could.
No.
Not even Stacy.
Nope, not at all. He was doing so good. Like, I still to this day don't get it.
So you wholeheartedly believe this is the first time that he has relapsed?
I mean, he had relapses in the past, but this...
No. I'm talking about like after IOP.
Yes.
This is the first time he drank. Did any mood-altering substance. This is the first instance.
Yep.
Unbelievable.
Yep.
Okay, I'm back to the bad tires. He shouldn't have been driving, A, because he had bad tires, B, because he was drinking, correct?
His alcohol levels were actually, I forgot what the alcohol levels were, but they were in the yellow, so they weren't the worst they could get. Like, he thought that he was okay. Like, he was at the point where he could still walk and talk, and, he wasn't belligerently drunk. He thought he was okay to drive, and he was, what I was told, he was on the phone with one of his friends that he had just left from, and he was on FaceTime. And, there's a few stories going around that, I'll never know the truth of what happened that night because so many stories are going around. But apparently, like, one story said that, he just watched this, I'm just going to run off the road and kill myself. And then the next one, I heard that, he was on his way back. And I don't know, him and my little sister and his girlfriend were into it that night. So he left mad.
Mm-hmm.
My little sister was at a party that he didn't like, and he was ready to go get her, and he was mad. And I don't know. I don't know if he, his death certificate says suicide. And what I heard from that night, like what he was saying and how he was talking, I don't see my brother committing suicide. This was the best he's ever done in his life.
Mm-hmm.
But, he was also, like, the drugs that, being on drugs for so long, it had really messed his head up. And he was, like, really depressed, and I don't really know.
And how did he work through some of that? What did you watch to see him identify the depression maybe or the anxiety that he had without the drug?
He reached out to me a lot, and, like, I still have the messages where he's like, even sober, like, I just feel like everybody's out to get me. He thought that his girlfriend was cheating on him, and he just thought the worst of everything. And it's just because the drugs had messed him up.
And what was his drug of choice in the past?
Meth.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So it created this paranoia.
Yeah.
And did he ever reach out to Stacy?
Mm-mm. Mm-hmm. I think he was scared of letting Stacy down. I think that's what it was.
Well, I know from kind of my past that once you do relapse, it's like, you've relapsed before.
Yeah, for
It's
sure.
like the shame and the guilt are just so unbearable that it's game on, and it's hard to turn off. Mm-hmm. Right.
And he had a lot of shame and guilt anyways from, letting himself get to that point.
Which point? Of depression?
Yeah, the depression, the anxiety.
Because he was the guy that lit up the room. He was who his sisters leaned on to brighten everything up. He was the shoulder that y'all cried on.
Absolutely.
I can relate to all that. Wow. So, at the REACH program, he's put in a lot of work, and then he relapses. And can you tell me what you know about that night? He leaves the party, and then what happens? I don't, as far as his car runs off the road.
Like I said, I've heard a few stories about what happened that night, but I'm
not worried about the intent. I'm just worried about the general information. He has a car crash. It crashes into what?
Well, I'm pretty sure he ran off the road and he couldn't get his his car back on the road. He hit a mailbox. After he hit the mailbox, he went through a fence, and right in between two trees, he barely missed them, went through a fence and then down into a ravine. And they said that he died instantly, supposedly. They said that the wood from the mailbox had went through his chest, so he died instantly. So he didn't feel like anything, going through the fence and going down in the ravine. They said he died instantly.
Unbelievable. What does that feel like for you now? Like the moment you get the text or the call or where did you turn to? What did you do? Because that's unbearable, whether you've been through relapses, whether you've been through CPS situation.
As soon as I got the call, I instantly left and I was on my way. The whole way there, I didn't want to believe it. I was calling every hospital. I was, calling dispatch to see if a car like his had been involved in a wreck, and, they told me yeah, and, I just didn't really want to believe it. And whenever I got there, they wouldn't let me see him. And then, after they finally made me leave, his friend was there that he was with that night, and he waited on everybody to leave. And whenever they was towing his car, he went and took pictures of his car and sent it to his whole family. The car was full of blood. You can see the wood in it and all that. He sent it to all of us. So that's kind of traumatized me. And then after that, Yeah, I had to go clean out his car by myself.
Why not take someone with you?
They wouldn't let me. They would only let one person back there. I had my sister with me, and they told me that only one person can go back there.
That's that's tough.
Yeah.
So what'd you do? A bunch of prayer before? A bunch of gratitudes, some journaling? What did you do to prepare yourself for that day? Just that emotion of going and cleaning out his car.
I didn't think I would have to do it alone, so I wasn't really prepared. But after that, I did relapse.
You did.
I did relapse. But I did catch myself. I relapsed for about a month, and then ever since then, like I've been, kind of working with Stacy, and just coming and telling his story makes me feel better.
Yes.
That's half the reason that I'm sober now, because I know that's what he would want, and me coming and telling his story is just, I know I'm keeping his name alive.
Absolutely. So on a day-to-day basis, what keeps you in the balanced frame of mind, the content frame of mind, not having your brother? I mean, what keeps you in that mindset now?
Pretty much journaling, because I just feel like, like I have family and stuff that I can talk to about it, but I just feel like nobody understands, So I actually ordered a book off Amazon. It's called Letters to My Brother in Heaven. So that's my go-to. And I just let it all out.
Would you like to share any of the past ones that stick out once you wrote it? I mean, you just kind of knew that, like, this is what I'm going to have to go back and read to help myself through this. I mean, is there anything that you would like to share of kind of those thoughts that you put out that you knew that you would need later on, or you would go back and reread?
Actually, like, what gets me through is I go back through our old messages, and I have messages like when we were both, out there, and he was like, Carissa, you need to get your shit together. Like, you need to get your kids back. And I go look at that, and I'm like, this is what he would want. So, like, that's what is keeping me going, knowing this is what he would want.
And the baby is absolutely beautiful.
Thank you.
You got the biggest blue eyes I've ever seen. And what's the baby's name?
Trent Jr.
Trent Jr. Very fitting. And the baby was born. Trent got to see it born, or no?
No, she was 6 months pregnant whenever he died.
Oh my gosh! Wow. Well, Trent Jr. is absolutely beautiful, and you just basically said, "Well, here's big baby."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Okay, yes, it is a big baby."
He's definitely a blessing.
It is a blessing, and it's unbelievable to know how loved he is now.
Absolutely.
What else about Trent that you want to share that of his story that gives people hope, experience, and some strength that they can take away from his story? I mean, it sounds just tragic, and I don't want to leave it that way. It is tragic. We all know that, but what does Carissa gain from it? What does Alexis gain from it? What does Big Baby? What does Trent Jr. gain from it?
Yeah, it's brought all of us closer together, and I don't even really know how to put it into words, but just knowing that, like, he left that blessing behind, like, we all have to stick together to make sure he's okay. And Trent, I don't want him to be remembered how he died.
Right.
He was the best person to be around. He just, I don't even know. He was my best friend. I don't know. It just sucks.
Yes. Sucks is not even
Yeah.
not even it. What I can see in your eyes is devastation. I couldn't imagine. I haven't lost a sibling. We've lost some close ones here recently, but not anything like a sibling. Somebody that you've seen grown. Somebody that you've seen dig out of some situations that you didn't think that you could do yourself. Somebody that's you leaned on no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
When you now have a problem, not just journaling. I mean, who's somebody that you can relate to now? I mean, do you scream at Trent? Do you scream at him?
Yes, absolutely. Because I'm still so mad at him. But I mean, I talk to him, and I call Alexis. They dated for a long time, and she will forever be in love with him. So I know, like, she's one person I can call, and even though she's not family, I've known her, my whole life, and she knows what I'm going through. And I don't know, like, with it being five of us and then one boy and, all girls, like, I feel like sometimes we feel like we throw it in each other's face, like, who's grieving the most and, all that. Like, it's brought us together, but it's also, he was like the piece, like, he was the glue to our family, literally. So it's kind of like, I don't know, it's been rough, but, I know I can call Alexis, and, she knows what I'm going through. She's been with us our whole life, so.
What kind of tools do you equip yourself now with grieving besides journaling? I mean, you were already doing journaling when you decided to go back out, right?
Yeah.
So, not that it doesn't work; it helps, of course. But what are some of the tools of grieving that you've discovered over the last?
It's actually really probably not healthy, but I try to keep myself as busy as possible just to not think about it. But, I mean, sometimes there is days like I know I need to cry and I know I need to let it out and talk to him. But there's also days that I'm angry. I'm still angry.
Well, yeah, of course.
And I'm still learning these coping skills. But
And the Reach program helps you with these coping skills.
Absolutely.
How is that? I mean, do y'all have discussions about this? Is it just you and Stacy? Is it a group? Have you gone to some grieving situations to where you?
Actually, after he died, Jessica and Stacy started a grief group or whatever, and that's what we were going to. But not a lot of people were showing up, so I think they stopped doing it. But I mean, I have one-on-one with Stacy, just going to groups, and even just people in the fellowship I reach out to, and a lot of people have lost a sibling, so they know what I'm going through. So just having them is.
So as much as you feel alone, you're not alone.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it always seems to be, especially in group settings. You'll be going through something, and then all of a sudden somebody shares beside you, and you're like, "Did you really just say that?"
Yeah.
Because I'm doing the same thing. There's a lot of men right now in our group that are taking care of their mothers, and I'm one of them. And it's like I can't believe that there's 3 or 4 guys in here that are going through the same things I am. And this is what the human experience is about. I have no doubt in my mind somebody's going to relate and say, you know what? I probably need to journal more because, the grief is just too hard to swim in my head.
Yeah.
And, you shared that. So it gives them the open door to at least try it.
Yeah.
And not to say it wouldn't. I do want to go back to after his death. Of course, you're angry, sad, frustrated, misunderstood. All the above. I couldn't imagine. But do you remember when you were going to relapse? Like, do you remember a week before you were like, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead.
Yeah.
Did you remember a week before you relapsed? What did that sound and feel like in your head?
I'd
love to see your journal that day.
I just remember thinking that I just for a minute, like I wanted it to stop.
What to stop?
I just wanted the pain to stop.
The pain.
Because it wasn't long after he died that I relapsed, and it was like I was crying every day, and I was over it, Like I was just, I don't know how to explain it, but I just needed it to stop.
And what is your drug of choice?
Meth.
It is? And why not call?
I should have.
I know that, of course, but I'm like, this is what I'm trying to get across when I ask these questions, because it was the same for me. I can remember every time that I relapsed, the text that I put out, the feeling I had. I wasn't doing good a week or two before. The warning signs were there.
Yeah.
But Justin just kept on telling myself, I'm all right, I'm all right, I'm all right. And then the text goes out and it's over.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm trying to get to, is back up on that. Why not reach out to somebody? Is it just I don't know? It can't be I don't know.
Because I know they would talk me out of it. And, I mean, at that point, I just Like I said, I just wanted it to stop. I didn't care what nobody said. Like I didn't care if anybody tried to talk me out of it. Like after he died, like, the grieving process has been like hard for me. Like, one minute I'm sad and angry and all that, and then I go to like, well, I need to do what Trent would have wanted. Like, I need to keep his name, going or whatever. So I'm going back and forth with it. But after I relapsed, like, I don't know. I had a one-on-one with Stacy, and I just doing stuff like this helps me.
Yes.
Like I went to North Bullet and talked to the seniors about drinking and
That's
driving,
awesome.
and I don't know, just keeping his name alive is helping me the most.
And how long has Trent been gone?
Since May 25th of last year.
May 25th of 21. So a year and a half, basically.
Yeah.
What I had something in my head, and I was trying not to dig too deep, but I also am just intrigued because it's the same thing. If we can prevent some of the relapse situations, I know now. Of course, no names, but the first person you text when you want to relapse.
Mm-hmm.
What did they say? Did they know your situation before, that you had stopped? Of course they do, because you stopped showing up. That you had stopped, that you got your kids back, that you have built all this up. What did they say? Come on, baby, I'm ready. I mean, what did they say? Because it just...
person like that I relapsed with? Or?
Yeah, that you text and says, do you got anything?
Pretty much. It was my best friend at the time, and I don't think she wanted to, but she knew what I was going through, so it was hard for her to say no. She was like, pretty much was like, if you think this is going to help, then, let's do it.
And she was still in the madness herself, obviously.
We actually ended up getting in a lot of trouble, and I caught a lot of drug charges in a different county.
And this is the month that you were in it?
Trent,
so is that what pulled you out?
Yeah. Trent died in May, and we actually ended up getting in a lot of trouble in July.
Thank God for that.
Yeah.
Because that would have been it.
Yeah,
right?
that was actually
You were gone, I bet.
Yeah.
I'm so proud of you for sitting right here across from me, for real.
Thank you.
That is awesome. It's just so powerful to hear, and you just got to keep connected. You got to understand what it takes to really reach out every single time. Mm-hmm. And I know I'm beating a dead horse, but if we don't identify exactly what is going on in our minds and in our emotions before we relapse, we're done for.
Right.
We're just, and I think, just from hearing the story, and I'm no therapist, trust me, but Trent had a hard time identifying them. Mm-hmm. It re-identifies a man. So as a man, we have this big build-up man box that, I don't know if Stacy's ever gave y'all the man box talk.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
She's going to do it on here live one time. So we have this big build-up man box that, nothing can touch us. Mm-hmm. And so we just shun it away and try not to identify it. Mm-hmm. And that's what he was.
Exactly how he was, too.
So like a depression, no, I'm not depressed. Anxiety, no, I'm not tripping about that.
He actually, it's crazy because like he knew like after the drugs he got anxiety really bad, but I don't know if it like permanently messed him up, but like, whenever he would text me, he was like, I just feel like everybody's still out to get me. Like I don't know if it's actually anxiety that I have or if it's just like, the drugs that's like messed me up. And, I don't.
And how long clean had he been at this time that you got a text like that?
4 months.
4 months. And he's still feeling. My drug of choice was not meth. Mm-hmm. Never seen it, never tried it. So I don't know the after effects. But 4 months, and you can still feel the after effects of.
Absolutely.
That's unbelievable.
Absolutely.
So if you hear that and you can understand that, we'd like to hear more about it. Of course, you can DM. But the after effects of 4 months creates anxiety and stuff that you probably have a hard time getting rid of. Did he ever go see a doctor?
No. Actually.
Did you experience any of that?
Yeah. I'm actually on medicine for
you don't have to lay it all out, but
depression, anxiety, all that. But actually, the night before he died, he had wrote my other sister and asked what doctor she went to for her anxiety medicine because he was wanting to go. Mm-hmm. So
just to kind of cope with something
Yeah.
because it's debilitating at times.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very lucky. The only time that I've ever dealt with any of that is withdrawals.
Mm-hmm.
And it lasted about 2 weeks. And then after I started to dig out of the cloud, it went away. And I can imagine having it all the time.
Yeah.
So that is
It's mostly a mental thing.
you think so?
With meth, yeah, it's a mental thing.
Because you can end it
Yeah.
just by making that text.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I always say about withdrawal. My buddies call me like, on day 6, day 7, I'm doing a little bit better, but I just can't. My legs are restless, and it's different. People are like, "Well, it's just like the flu." I'm like, no.
Yeah.
The flu, like you got to go a
Right.
certain amount of days to get over it. I can make a text right now and end it, and I think that's the big difference.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, can you talk about some of the shame and guilt, because I think that's what Trent obviously was feeling
Yeah.
that night, and I don't see how they call any accident a suicide.
Yeah.
I just, that blows my mind.
Yeah.
So I hope they get that worked out professionally. I have a lot of faith in law enforcement. I know it sounds crazy on here, but I do because of my story. But can you go through some of your shame and guilt that after that month of what you had done? Obviously, the law pushed you back in, but they saved your life. Can you go through some of that shame and guilt and how you worked through that after relapsing, after you had seen what happened to your brother?
I mean, it's kind of hard to explain. Like, I was kind of stuck, like I said, between like, this isn't what Trent would want, but then again, like I need to end this pain. Like I just wanted to stop. But what really got me through is, like I said, just looking back at our old messages. I was feeling so guilty because, I mean, my brother had just died from drinking and driving, and I'm out. I was drinking and driving. I had my little sister in the car when I was drinking and driving right after my brother died when we got in trouble. I don't know, really just them groups is what got me through it. Them women's groups, like, they've helped me through everything. The fellowship, reaching out to all them, all the women, like, they got me through it.
So what about now? Do you make sure when you have emotion that is relapse-ish? I don't know if that's a word, but I'm gonna make it one. Relapse-ish, when you have an emotion and you can kind of feel that and identify that, do you immediately say, "I need to go help someone"?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's different now.
Why?
Like I said, because I just know this is what Trent would want. All I have to do is look back at the messages where he's like, "Carissa, get your shit together," and that message literally keeps me on track.
And when was that? This is when he was in IOP, or
No, this is actually, he was still out there, and this is when I was in drug court and all that, and I did have.
This is before you went to IOP.
Yeah. Actually, like, I was, when I was in drug court, I was getting sanctioned because I was failing drug tests, and, I just wasn't, at first I wasn't doing what I was supposed to do, and, he put me in my place. He's like, you need to get your shit together, get your kids back. He loved his nieces and nephews, and me losing them, he didn't get to see them. So.
When did you get your kids back the second time, or did they never?
I'm like gradually still getting them back. Like I'm getting them every weekend now.
Okay, can you share kind of what that feels like and how that works out with your baby's dad and all that? And I don't mean to get too personal and all that because I know that can be a long road, but my purpose here is to show people it's possible.
Yeah.
And to not give up on a mother who is simply just coming out to help others.
Yeah.
So can you share kind of that emotion and what kind of work that takes now that you have gone through everything that you've gone through with Trent's death, with relapsing after that? You already did the CPS thing before. What does that look like? Do they just keep on giving you chances? What is it?
Actually, I'm still having to prove myself. With my oldest kid's dad, like and I mean, I get it because, like, I have told him plenty of times that I was sober and, I have had relapses. So I'm still having to prove myself before he's, like, allowing me to, like, get him back full time. But my youngest, it's been a struggle with him, but it's getting easier now because, I think they're realizing that, even me just doing all this and, I think they're realizing that I'm just done, you know?
You're done for the day.
Yeah, just for today. Just for today.
Yeah, I kind of remind people that because, excuse me, let me back up. The reason I do this because it helps me, right? So the reason I say that to you is because I had to remind myself because I can look at weeks, months. I mean, I dropped my daughter off at kindergarten this year and like a bawled like a baby. Like my oldest, she's 5. And I called my wife and I was like, she's going to leave for college. She's like, my gosh, you just dropped her off at kindergarten. But that's what it felt like to me.
Yeah.
So I think as addicts, I think that we can really feel some emotion that is like way far ahead of what other people will, especially when we're sober, because we are so grateful and we are so in touch with where we are today. So that's why I say just for today. I also wanted to touch on the fact of were you in? Is it FOP? What is it? What is it called? Family court.
FMBA.
FMBA. Tell me about that. Is it fair? Is it just? Do you own everything that you have done, and you understand why they come down on certain situations? When you sign it away, when you signed that FMBA, I'm sorry,
FMBA.
FMBA, which stands for what?
Families Moving Beyond Abuse.
That's right. And this is a program that does what?
It's kind of like a drug court, except like they're helping you get your kids back. Like, they gradually, you have to pass so many drug tests and, do so many classes and all that. But, it's like a lot of people with a CPS case, like, you just do your case plan or whatever, and they just throw them back at you. FMBA is different. They gradually, help you. And Judge Spanhauer, she's actually the judge, and she is awesome. Like,
Wow.
she is just amazing. Like, she don't judge you. She don't put you down. Like, if you relapse, like, I mean, yeah, she's going to sanction you, of course. But,
Right.
like, she, talks to you, and she reaches out to you, and she just, knowing that somebody else has faith in you, too, it makes it a lot easier.
Do you think the only reason she does that is because one person has done it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I always think about that. I'm like, why do people, because one person have done it. Mm-hmm. Me and you sitting across from each other, we've done it, right? To this day, like for today, we've done it. So I think it's always interesting to see that and understand that, especially with her authority, that she doesn't make you feel a certain way.
Right.
Because she's seen what's possible. Mm-hmm. And if people don't know, if we don't share it on the human experience, if we don't share in group, if we don't go out and tell people that this stuff is possible, like the roadblock they had Saturday and all that stuff, like if we don't tell them that it's possible, then we are going to get judged.
Right.
And I'm not going to stop and talk to the people that were in Barefoot today in Bardstown and say, look, there's a way out.
Yeah.
And I just honestly believe that those type of people that judge have so much more to hide
Absolutely.
than any of us can put on this table, right? And I wish they would share to help somebody that is similar to their situation, right?
Right.
And so it's really good to hear. I'm a big fan of the court systems. I know it sounds some things.
Yeah.
I will say some of the. Anyway, I'm not getting into that. But I have good friends in the court system, and I have good friends that are against the court system.
Right.
But from what I've seen, like it is what we deal, right?
Absolutely.
And I think it's a great program because it is gradual, so it gives you a shot to mess up and do better.
Yeah.
So it gives you choices. Okay. With all this wrapped up, like I know I dug deep in kind of your situation, but I think I want people to understand where you're at before they can understand Trent and where he was at, because I think those mindsets relate. What do you want to leave? Why did you come to the podcast? I know it's to keep Trent's name alive. That's an easy answer, but why share your story?
I mean, to be honest, like, my brother's story, he wasn't drinking that much that night. Like, his toxicology report showed that he was still able to walk and talk, and he was like he thought he was okay. And I mean, I just want to get it out there that, like, even one drink can take your life. I'm so against drinking and driving now, and, like, I just want to advocate for it, just so someone else doesn't have to go through what I'm going through and my family's going through.
Is there any resources that you want to push people towards? But I always push the REACH program, of course, because I mean I've seen people that aren't addicts that might be dealing with anger issues or anxiety or depression. I still send them to Stacy. I still send them to
That's
REACH
the
program.
only person I even talk about. If anybody needs help, I'm like, please go to Stacy. She's
Right.
awesome.
Which is the REACH program, and Stacy's in the midst of building a team to support her because she can't answer everybody, but somehow
Right.
she does.
Yeah, I don't know how.
I don't know how either, and we're so thankful for her. And so let me ask you this: what happens if something happens to Miss Stacy? What does Carissa do then?
I honestly have no idea what I would do. I've never thought about that.
You might need to journal that.
Yeah, I might need to because I've never thought
Well,
about that.
you can call me,
Okay.
and there's no doubt that it's a family at the REACH program. We always say it's a family you can't get rid of, and they really mean it because
Yeah, for
I
sure.
have watched souls on Facebook, like you friended them while you're in IOP or the men's group, and then you can just see it happening.
Yeah.
And they don't show up, and you can just see it happening. And then there's a small cry for help, and I'm like, "Hey, man,
Reach out.
we're still here.
Yeah.
Come on." So and this is what I encourage too that maybe you should do because I've done it. Is like when you feel your best, like when you're feeling great and wonderful, and that you want to advocate those things, is when you call in. Like you call people not just when you're at your lowest, but when you're at your highest. That way, that practice and that muscle memory start working.
Right.
And then when you feel really, really awful and today's not your day, reach out to somebody because it's going to help the whole universe.
Yeah.
No, that's what I try to do.
Yeah.
Like, but I'm like you. When I start to get down, I got to help somebody.
Yeah.
Do something.
Yeah, that's what makes me feel better. And doing stuff like this is what makes me feel better.
Okay. Is there anything else, something that you want to leave or say to Trent, or something? Let's do that. What do you want to say to Trent right now, or Trent Jr., or something you tell Trent Jr. every time?
I don't even think I can do it.
Well, Trent Jr. is going to be watching this when he's about 8 or 9 or 10, maybe later. If we still, I know this is going to be ancient technology by then. Keegan's like, yeah, I've already got something in mind. But something that you want to tell Trent Jr. about Trent?
That his daddy loved him, and he likes to help me with this. Regardless, he's always with him, and I'm blessed that he left him behind, and that
He put him ahead, not behind.
his dad's always going to be with him.
Well, I'm so excited for you, Trent Jr., because you have an awesome support group. They're here today, and I'm so glad that I could be a part of the story and trying to get it out there. Drinking and driving, there's other options. There's so many options now. I know every time I got a DUI, my options were like this close to happening the other way, and I should have chose the other way, which shows you the mental aspect of it's just best not to.
Yeah.
So, of course, we're all against drinking here, period. But drinking and driving, there's ways to prevent it.
Absolutely.
And not just himself, who knows? Let me just put this perspective of what I know about Trent now, because I can relate to it. He probably ran off the road because I don't know if you ever thought about this, but he was afraid he was going to hurt somebody else.
Yeah, I have.
You know what I mean?
He could have hit a whole, family,
Well, he might have tried to miss him.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And we'll never know. Only God knows. And bless his soul. And he's not forgotten down here. That's obvious. So I really appreciate you coming on.
Thank you
And
for having me.
trust me, it's not just Stacy out there. She's done. She wants the REACH program to go as far as it can go without her. And I know it wouldn't exist or be anything, but
Yeah.
I'm really, really proud of you and for sitting here and being able to discuss, your relapse after Trent's death and that shame and guilt that you worked through. So I'm proud of you. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you so much.
See, you made it through. All right. Thank you, guys. This is The Human Experience, another true human truth. Please follow, subscribe, and look out for us on TikTok. And Keegan's going to get us on Spotify soon. That's your challenge, Keegan. All right. So look out for our audio only as well. Thank you very much.